Most men live their lives in quiet frustration, endlessly chasing an illusion they never quite grasp. They wake up, they work, they sleep, trapped in a cycle that was never of their own making, convinced that one day success will simply appear. But it never does. And why? Because they are looking for it in all the wrong places. Success, as it is commonly understood, is a trick of the mind. It is the mirage that lures men into a desert of endless striving, where they measure their worth by numbers, by possessions, by the fleeting approval of others. They believe that if they run just a little faster, work just a little harder, and sacrifice just a little more, they will finally arrive. But they never do, because they were never told the truth, that success is not something to be chased. A man who merely follows the script given to him by society is like a leaf in the wind, tossed about by forces he does not understand. He believes in the game because he was taught to believe in it. He follows rules written by men who themselves were lost, and he wonders why he never feels whole. The world tells him to be strong, to be dominant, to be a provider, to conquer. No one tells him to stop and ask, what is it that I truly seek? Most men will never be successful because they do not question the path they walk. They fear stepping outside the lines. They fear failure, but even more, they fear success. Because true success would mean letting go of the false security they cling to, the job that suffocates them, the relationships that drain them, the habits that numb them. These things define their prison, and yet they hold on tightly. A man who understands will stop running. He will stop seeking approval, stop chasing illusions, stop fearing the unknown. He will turn inward, not as an escape, but as an exploration. He will realize that he was never lost, only distracted. And when he no longer seeks success, but instead aligns with his nature, he will find that the very thing he was chasing was within him all along. The rest will remain asleep, working towards a future that never comes, never questioning why they do not feel alive. But a few will wake up, and when they do, the game will no longer hold them. They will realize that the world around them is not something to be conquered, but something to be understood. They will come to see that success is not about achieving a destination, but about recognizing the vastness and beauty of the journey itself. For too long, they've been conditioned to measure their lives by external achievements, as if the value of a man is determined by his wealth, status, or power. These are mere byproducts of the mind's illusions, fleeting markers that do not define the essence of being. True success lies in the realization of one's own nature, in understanding the fullness of who we are beneath the layers of expectations and conditioning. When a man stops chasing, when he ceases the frantic, exhausting race toward a goal that has been dictated to him, something remarkable happens. He begins to notice the world as it truly is. The rushing, the pushing, the constant striving all dissolve into the background, and what comes to the foreground is a moment of profound stillness, of peace. This is where success is born, not in the pursuit, but in the acceptance of the present. When a man ceases to be caught up in the drama of his own mind, when he stops grasping for something that seems just out of reach, he begins to realize that everything he ever needed was already available to him. This isn't about giving up or retreating into complacency. It is the opposite. It's about embracing life as it is, rather than constantly trying to mold it into something it is not. The mistake that most men make is that they think they need to change themselves to be worthy of success, to become more than they are. But the truth is far more liberating. You are already everything you need to be. The problem is not in who you are, but in the beliefs and illusions you've accepted about who you should be. Success cannot be measured by the number of accolades you collect or the size of your bank account. These are fleeting things, temporary markers that do not capture the essence of a man's life. Real success is found in the depth of your own experience, in the peace you can carry with you regardless of what happens around you. It's in the ability to face challenges without becoming defined by them. To find joy even in the midst of hardship. This kind of success cannot be found by running towards it, but only by embracing the journey itself. The reason most men will never be successful is because they don't understand that success is not something to be acquired. It is something to be recognized. It's not about gaining more, but about letting go of the illusions that obscure what is already here. We are born into this world with everything we need to live a full, meaningful life. Yet we are conditioned to believe that we must search for it, to constantly strive, to constantly achieve, as though it was something distant, something unattainable. But this is a lie. There is a kind of fear that grips most men, the fear of being insufficient, of not being enough. It drives them to work longer, harder, to do more, to be more. But no matter how much they accomplish, they never feel truly fulfilled. And that's because the fulfillment they seek cannot be found in what they do, but in who they are. True fulfillment comes when a man stops comparing himself to others, when he stops measuring his worth by external standards and simply accepts himself as he is. This doesn't mean that he stops striving altogether. It means that he learns to approach life with a sense of ease, of lightness. He works not because he has to, but because it is an expression of his nature. He doesn't need to prove anything to anyone, because he is already complete. He understands that life is not a competition, but a dance, and that the moment he tries to force his way through it, he loses the rhythm of it. Most men are caught in the trap of competition. They believe that to succeed they must outdo others, climb higher than their peers, prove that they are better. But this is a false game. The world is not a zero-sum contest where only one can win. And even if you do win according to the rules of society, what have you truly gained? Recognition, perhaps, wealth, maybe. But does that bring you peace? Does it make you feel whole? No, it does not. It only feeds the illusion that success is something to be gained, not realized. The truly successful man does not compare himself to anyone. He is not looking at others to gauge his own worth. He simply is, and that is enough. There is no need to prove anything, because he knows that the very act of being alive is the proof of his success. He knows that the richness of life is not found in external achievements, but in the depth of his own experience. The more he embraces this truth, the more he finds that the things he once sought, wealth, status, power, are irrelevant. What matters is the quality of his presence in the world. A man who is awake understands that the things we chase after, money, fame, power, are all distractions. They are simply ways in which we try to avoid the inevitable truth that we are all impermanent, that our lives are fleeting, and that true success comes not from accumulating things, but from understanding the impermanence of it all. It comes from realizing that nothing in this world can bring lasting happiness. The happiness you seek is already within you, and when you recognize this, everything changes. This does not mean you abandon your responsibilities or disengage from the world. On the contrary, the awake man is deeply engaged, but not in the same way as others. He does not become entangled in the web of social expectations. He does not chase after the things that the world tells him are important. He is not attached to outcomes. When you stop seeking success, when you stop measuring yourself by what you've achieved or by what others think of you, you begin to experience a profound freedom. This freedom is not the freedom to do whatever you want without consequence, but the freedom to be yourself, to express yourself authentically, without the fear of judgment. The man who is truly free is not the one who has the most power or the most money, but the one who has the courage to be himself, regardless of what the world may think. True success is not about winning the race. It's about realizing that there is no race to win. It's about seeing the world not as something to be conquered, but as something to be experienced. When a man stops looking outward for validation, he begins to look inward, and in doing so, he uncovers a treasure that was always there, waiting to be discovered. Most men will never experience this kind of success because they are too caught up in the illusion of achievement. They are too focused on the external world, on what they have or don't have, on what they are told they should want. But the man who truly understands will see through these illusions. He will realize that success is not something to be acquired, but something to be recognized. And when he recognizes this, he will see that he was never truly lost. He was only looking in the wrong places. The moment a man stops striving, stops trying to prove himself, is the moment he truly begins to live. And in that moment, the whole world opens up to him. He becomes a part of the flow of life, no longer pushing against it, but moving with it. And in that movement, he finds success. Not the success the world tells him to seek, but the success that comes from simply being alive, from being fully present in each moment, from knowing that he is enough. The key to success is not in striving harder or achieving more. It's in letting go of the need to strive, in realizing that all the things you've been chasing are nothing but distractions. The success you seek is already within you, waiting to be uncovered. And when you recognize this truth, you will find that success was never about what you had, but about who you are. It is a strange thing, isn't it, the way the world persuades us that we must prove our worth, that we must prove that we are worthy of success. We grow up with this idea, instilled in us from a young age, that success is something external to us, something we must earn by doing more, working harder, becoming something other than what we are. This belief shapes everything, our actions, our choices, the way we see ourselves and others. And for most men, it is a never-ending pursuit, an exhausting chase for something that is always just beyond reach. The harder they try, the more elusive it becomes, and they are left feeling empty, unfulfilled, as if no matter how much they achieve, it is never enough. But there is a profound truth that most men never come to understand. The more you chase success, the more it slips away. It is like trying to hold water in your hands. The tighter you grip, the more it flows through your fingers. This is the nature of the illusion that society has created. A game where success is measured by external accomplishments, by the approval of others, by the accumulation of things. But this is not the truth of life. Success, in its truest form, cannot be measured by any external standard. It is not about what you achieve or what others think of you. It is about who you are and whether you are at peace with yourself and with the world around you. The idea that success is something to be achieved, something outside of ourselves, is a lie. It is a lie that keeps most men trapped in a cycle of dissatisfaction, a cycle where no matter how much they achieve, it is never enough. But when you let go of the idea of success, when you stop seeking it, something miraculous happens. You begin to realize that success is not something to be earned. It is something that you simply need to recognize. There is a kind of subtle peace that comes when a man realizes this. It is not a peace born of complacency, but a peace born of understanding. Understanding that the very act of being alive, of experiencing life as it is the success you have been seeking. It is the success that no amount of external validation, no accumulation of wealth or power can ever provide. Because this success is not contingent upon anything outside of you. It is simply the recognition of who you are, of the fullness of your own being. The trouble, of course, is that most men are so caught up in the game that they cannot see this. They are so immersed in the world of achievement, of competition, of striving, that they cannot stop to question the premise itself. They are like actors who have forgotten that they are on a stage, who have become so absorbed in their roles that they believe the play is real. And so they continue to perform, they continue to chase, they continue to measure themselves by standards that have no true meaning. They believe that success is a prize to be won, and in doing so, they become prisoners to the illusion of achievement. The truth is that the more you chase success, the more you miss the point of life itself. You get caught up in the pursuit, in the race, in the need to be seen, to be recognized, and in the process you forget to live. Life is not a race. It is not a competition. It is a journey, a flow, and when you try to force your way through it, you disrupt its natural rhythm. The secret to success is not in striving, but in allowing life to unfold as it will, without resistance, without judgment. A man who has truly understood this is not afraid to live in the moment. He does not need to rush ahead, to prove himself, to achieve anything. He simply lives fully and completely, with an openness to whatever comes. And in this openness, he finds peace. He finds success. not in the form of external accolades, but in the quiet contentment that comes with knowing that he is enough, just as he is. This is the success that no amount of money, no amount of power can ever provide. Most men are not willing to make this shift. They are too entrenched in the idea of success as a distant goal, something to be attained only after years of hard work and sacrifice. And so they continue on their endless quest, working harder, doing more, striving to become someone they are not. They think that by achieving more they will somehow feel complete. But they do not. The more they achieve, the more they realize that success is not something outside of themselves. It is something they must come to recognize within. The problem with the pursuit of success is that it creates a sense of inadequacy. The more you strive, the more you are led to believe that you are not enough. It becomes a never-ending cycle. You try to achieve more to prove that you are enough, but no matter what you achieve, it never feels like enough. The reason for this is simple. You are already enough. There is nothing you need to prove. You are complete. But because you are so focused on external validation, you cannot see this truth. You cannot see that the very act of being alive is a form of success, a form of accomplishment. The true measure of success is not what you have or what you do, but how you live, how you show up in the world. It is in your presence, in your awareness, in your ability to be fully engaged with the moment. When you stop chasing success, when you stop measuring yourself by what you have or have not achieved, you begin to experience life in its fullness. You begin to experience the richness of being alive, and in this richness you find a sense of peace and contentment that cannot be found in any external. But this shift is not easy. It requires letting go of everything you've been taught about success, about what it means to be a man, about what you should want and what you should do. It requires a willingness to question everything you've been told, to examine the very foundation of your beliefs, and to let go of those that no longer serve you. It requires courage, the courage to live authentically, to be true to yourself, even if that means stepping away from the world's expectations. Most men will never make this shift. They will continue to chase success, continue to strive, continue to measure their worth by what they have or have not accomplished. They will continue to live in the illusion that success is something to be gained, something outside of themselves. And in doing so, they will miss the beauty of life itself. They will miss the success that comes not from external validation, but from the recognition of their own inner wholeness. The few who wake up to this truth, however, experience life in a completely different way. They no longer see success as something to be attained. They see it as something that is already within them. They understand that life is not a race, but a dance. And they move with it, rather than against it. They no longer feel the need to prove themselves, to accumulate more, to do more. They simply live. And in that living, they find a peace that cannot be shaken, a success that cannot be measured. This is the truth that most men never understand. That success is not something to be chased, but something to be realized. It is not something external, but something internal. It is the recognition that you are enough, just as you are, and that life in its fullness is the greatest success of all. The truth, when finally realized, is deceptively simple. We have been living our lives backward. The chase for success, the endless striving, the never-ending comparison to others, it is all rooted in a misunderstanding of what life is really about. Men get caught up in this pursuit because they are taught from an early age that their value lies in what they can. Success in this framework is defined by the accolades you can collect, the possessions you can amass, and the recognition you can gain from others. Yet, all of this is a shadow of what is truly meaningful. The paradox is this: the more a man tries to control his life, to make it conform to the patterns and expectations laid out for him, the less he is able to actually live it. He becomes a machine, working, achieving, performing, but never truly experiencing. The system has conditioned him to believe that the more he does, the more valuable he becomes, and yet in his doing he loses touch with the very essence of life itself. In his pursuit of success, he forgets that success is not about doing, it's about being. Being alive Yet the majority of men are trapped in these boxes. They are taught to fit within rigid definitions of what it means to be a man, a worker, a father, a leader. They are encouraged to build, to climb, to achieve. But none of this ever truly satisfies. The box becomes a prison, and the harder they try to achieve within its confines, the more they become suffocated by it. The reality is that success is not about fitting into a box. It's about breaking free of it. It's about understanding that there is no single path, no singular definition of success that applies to one of the most deeply ingrained lies in modern society is that we are incomplete, that we are somehow lacking unless we have achieved a certain amount of success by the world's standards. Men are told that their worth lies in what they have, in what they can do, in the things they can acquire, but this creates an endless cycle of frustration. The more a man chases success in these forms, the further he moves away from his true self. He becomes caught in a loop of false achievement, never truly content, always seeking something more. And yet, the more he seeks, the less he finds. What is missing is not something external. What is missing is an understanding of our own nature. A man who is truly awake to himself does not chase success. He does not need to prove himself or seek external validation. Instead, he knows that he is enough, simply because he exists. His worth is not measured by what he does, but by who he is. And in this realization, he finds a peace that cannot be disturbed. This realization is a kind of liberation. It frees a man from the tyranny of comparison, from the need to prove himself, from the relentless pursuit of something that will never truly satisfy. The man who understands this truth is free to live as he is, without the burden of needing to be someone else, without the pressure to live up to someone else's definition of success. He is free to express his own individuality, to find his own path, and to experience life without the constant pressure to perform. And yet this freedom does not mean passivity. It does not mean withdrawing from the world or abandoning responsibility. It means moving through life with a sense of ease, with the understanding that life itself is the greatest gift. The man who is truly awake to this reality does not need to force things to happen. He does not need to chase after success or try to bend the world to his will. Instead, he aligns with the flow of life, moving with it rather than against it. He understands that true success comes not from striving, but from being in harmony with the present moment. What most men fail to realize is that the real source of power lies not in control, but in surrender. When a man lets go of his need to control every aspect of his life, when he ceases his frantic efforts to force things into existence, he taps into a much deeper power. The power of acceptance. Acceptance of what is, of the present moment, of himself. This acceptance brings peace, and from this peace, all things are possible. The man who is at peace with himself does not need to chase success. Success finds him naturally as a byproduct of his alignment with the flow of life. This is not to say that action is unnecessary, far from it. The man who is awake to himself is still capable of great action. He can still build, create, and contribute. But his actions are not born out of a desperate need to prove himself. They are born out of a genuine desire to express his true self, to contribute to the world in a way that feels authentic. The difference is subtle, but profound. The man who is driven by the need to prove himself is caught in a cycle of striving and disappointment. The man who acts from a place of authenticity is at peace, regardless of the outcome. Most men are caught in the trap of external validation. They look to others for approval, for recognition, for a sense of worth. This is the source of much of their frustration. They are constantly comparing themselves to others, trying to measure up, trying to be better, trying to outdo the competition. But this is a futile game. The world is not a competition. There is no universal standard by which a man can be measured. Every man's path is different, and true success cannot be found in comparison to anyone else. The man who understands this is no longer concerned with what others think of him. He no longer seeks approval or validation from external sources. He understands that his worth is inherent, that it comes from within. And in this realization, he becomes truly free. He no longer needs to prove anything to anyone. He simply is. And in this simple being, he discovers that all the things he was once striving for, recognition, success, wealth, are mere distractions from the deeper truth of life. The truth is that life is not about accumulating things. It is not about achieving a certain status or reaching a particular goal. Life is about experience. It is about being fully present with the world around you, about embracing each moment as it comes. The man who understands this truth knows that success is not something that can be achieved, but something that is realized. Success is found in the depth of your experience, in the richness of your awareness, in the authenticity of your being. When a man lives in alignment with his true nature, he no longer needs to chase success. He no longer needs to prove anything to anyone. He simply lives, fully and authentically. And in this living, he finds success. Not the kind of success that the world tells him to seek, but a deeper, more profound success. The success of being at peace with himself, of being true to who he is, of being fully present in each moment of his life. Most men will never realize this truth. They will continue to chase after things that do not matter, to measure their worth by external standards, to live in pursuit of an illusion. But those who do understand will experience a freedom that most will never know. They will live their lives not as prisoners to the world's expectations, but as free men, free to be themselves, free to express their true nature, free to experience the richness of life in all its forms. And in this freedom, they will find the true success that others can only dream of. The message here is clear, though often difficult to accept. The pursuit of success, as it is commonly defined, is a trap, a constant, exhausting chase for something that will never fully satisfy. The world tells us to strive, to achieve, to prove our worth. But in this endless pursuit, we lose sight of the truth, that we are already enough. Success is not something to be earned or attained through external accomplishments. It is something that is recognized within us, in the peace we find when we stop striving and simply live. The men who truly understand this are the ones who stop measuring themselves against the standards set by others and begin to live authentically. They realize that true success lies not in what we do, but in who we are, in our ability to embrace life as it is and to be at peace with ourselves. They break free from the illusion that success is something to chase, and instead they align with the flow of life, moving with it, not against it. The choice is yours. You can continue to chase an empty vision of success, or you can stop, look inward, and recognize the power and peace that already reside within you. Don't be one of the men who miss out on the richness of life because they are too busy trying to prove their worth. Instead, embrace the freedom of simply being and watch as success naturally follows, not in the form of accolades or wealth, but in the form of knowing that you are enough, just as you are. That, in itself, is the greatest success you will ever achieve.